We all get depressed sometimes. This is a very difficult world, even for Christians. But how you view yourself and your depression, your attitude towards it, can make all the difference in the world if it's better or worse. I want to change your perception of your depression just a little bit, but can make a huge difference. That and several other small little tips and tricks on fighting depression coming up soon. Stay tuned and watch the whole thing. Hi, I'm Dr. Monte, Dr. Monte Miller. I'm a licensed psychologist. I have my master's and my doctorate degree in clinical psychology, and I've been working in the field well over 20 years now since then. I've had a lot of experience dealing with people with severe traumas, severe problems in their life, loss of independence, loss of loved ones who have died close to them, severe illnesses and injuries, medical problems, strokes, loss of their homes, loss of their jobs, and so much problems you can't even imagine. And yet I've really tried to help them get through that and find peace in the storm. And I've learned a lot from them as far as how to find peace in the storms. And I felt like it's time to let go of what I've, to use what I've learned by helping them to help many other people. I feel like God's been calling me to do that more. No praise to myself, just all good to God. He's done all this. So in these videos, if you could hit the subscribe button, hit the little thumb icon to let me know you like it, hit the bell notification to get more notifications of the next videos coming out. Let me know what you think about this video. Share your problems with depression. I will respond. Any of those interactions with this can really help YouTube know that someone's watching this and it's of value, and then they'll share it with someone else. It makes a huge difference to get this out to people who need to know it. And it would just help me out a lot. I really appreciate it. So dealing with depression, it's like the common cold and mental health illness. It's common. Everybody has it sooner or later. There's getting down and serious down, and then there's severe depression. There are a few people who have severe depression that's more medically based oriented, and they do need medications. But the vast majority of medications can still help, but they're not the real answer. They're just a band-aid. They're not to be relied on only. If you're in your right mind and you need medications, you also need counseling. Nothing's wrong with you or sick with you because of that. This is a sinful, fallen world we live in, people. And as Christians, we know this better than most. Your problems may not be due to your sin directly. They might be, but they may not be at all. It could just be that they're due to mankind's sin. As a whole, we live in a sinful, fallen world. God said, do this and everything will be wonderful, and we decide to do it our own way instead, and so all kind of bad things happen. He loves us, but he wants us to freely choose to love him back. And when that means a lot of us will not freely choose to love him back, and that causes all kind of problems in our world. It wasn't God's plan to have these problems. It was our disobedience that caused it. And so we have to accept that there's going to be difficulties, especially as we go on through life. There's all kind of problems. So this is a sinful, fallen world, but what are you going to do about it? When I go in to meet with somebody and they have a terrible storm of their life, something terrible and tragic's happened to them and they're having a hard time coping with it. When I get to hear them and I get to know their story, and then I tell them, hey, nothing's really clinically, medically, mental health-wise wrong with you. You're just acting normally. You're normal to be depressed in this tough situation. Somehow this seems to take the pressure off of themselves. It's like, okay, I thought I was going crazy or I was just weak or frail, and I'm realizing that I'm just normal. That alone helps lift their spirits up a little bit. And I really mean that. I'm not always going to be honest as my therapist, my clients. I'm not going to sugarcoat things to make you feel better. If I say that, I mean it. And I really do try to get to know people. Any good therapist is going to spend time really with compassion, getting to know your situation before they judge or give you any advice. You need to be heard and understood. And when you're heard and understood with your own faults and everything, and someone still understands and says, wow, yeah, that's tough, that's difficult, that just validates your feelings, and that alone gives you strength. We all need that. And sometimes we need that from someone outside besides a family and friend. They're supposed to say those things. But when an objective, unbiased observer says those things, especially someone who knows about depression and mental illness, and they say you're normal, that really does help us feel better. So that's the number one thing about your attitude. I want you to change your attitude and give yourself permission to feel a little bit sad at times. Sometimes I talk with people and I tell them, well, do you ever feel sorry for yourself? And some people say, oh no, I would never feel sorry for myself. But it's not right and it's not fair and I don't like it. It's like, okay, you are feeling sorry for yourself. Just admit it. It's okay. I really like it when I ask people that and they say, yeah, I kind of am feeling sorry for myself. And I say, that's okay. That's good. Thank you for admitting it and being honest with yourself about it. Yes, I don't want you to wallow in self-pity, stay ongoing. That's the whole point of this video and all my videos, is to not wallow in it. But for a little while, yeah, just for a little bit. I made a whole video, little picture like that. Just for a little bit, feel sorry for yourself. But if you can do it purposefully, giving yourself permission to be a big old crybaby for a little bit, and knowing that you're only going to do that for a little bit, and then you're going to pull yourself back up, put on your big girl panties, and then start fighting again. Normal to be depressed, but don't give into it. Okay, so sometimes when I'm dealing with people who are really in a very tough situation, I do want to sit there and tell them it's normal to be depressed. Who wouldn't be? But then I go on to say, but don't give into it. Depression can be like a seductive mistress who's trying to lure the man in. Come on, just a little pleasure. One night, it won't hurt anything. It's okay. Just come on, give in to your pleasure. Depression can be like that. When our mind is sad and depressed, our brain starts looking for other reasons to be depressed. It ignores all the good in our life and just tries to point out all the, well, that's wrong too, and that's wrong, and that's wrong. And now that I look at it, that's wrong too. Look, oh my gosh, my life really is terrible. And you're just focusing on all the bad things, and you're trying to make yourself more depressed. Don't give in to that. You've got problems, or you wouldn't be depressed, right? Giving into depression just makes you worse. I deal with a lot of people who are dealing with physical ailments and problems, and sometimes they're trying to recover from a bad problem, like a stroke or disease or cancer or something. And that's very critically important to them, because if they give into the depression, their body will get more weak and sick. All of us will get weak and sick more. The more stressed we have, the more depression we have, the more anxiety we have, the more frustration we have. Our bodies will suffer. But for some people, much more than others. But it's a huge important point for all of us. Don't give in to the depression. It just makes problems worse. I know how we feel. I know when you're down, feel like you've been kicked in the butt by life, that you just want to say, forget it. It doesn't matter. Just throw it all to the wind and say, who cares? And you just get worse. You know, you're an alcoholic and you're trying to stop drinking, and you give up and have done drinks. So you said, oh, screw it, I tried, it's not going to work, and you just give up and start drinking full out, binging again. Or dieting, and you give up one on your diet, and you say, screw it, forget it, I'm going to give up and just start eating again. But don't give up on depression like that. Don't just keep saying, okay, well, I'm depressed and I can't get undepressed, so I'm just going to stay more depressed. Fight it every day. Like I said, if you can't fight one day, just say, okay, I'm going to have a pity party day. But fight it the next day. Don't give into it altogether. Keep fighting it. Now, there's all kinds of other little tips and tricks that I've given on lots of other videos, and I'll still keep giving on more videos. There's lots of different ways of looking at your depression. Some of those things include accepting what you can't change. Change what you can. Easier said than done, but if I had to boil it down to one piece of wisdom, I would do that. Is it going to do any good to be depressed? No. Can your fixed situation be changed? Try to change it if you can. But if it can't, you've got to let it go. You've got to go on with life and make the most of it. Why do we not? That's a bigger, tougher psychological question to figure out what the thoughts are in our mind that are holding us down and not letting us get on. It's one reason counseling can be so helpful in those situations, to look more deeply at your situation and your thoughts. But in general, to be honest, sometimes we don't want to let go of our depression because deep inside, we think if someone just sees how depressed and down we are, we'll eventually get better. Our magic fairy godmother will come. Maybe we can go back in time and change it and fix it. I got to figure out why my daughter died why? I don't know. So that I can go back and change it and fix it and she can bring her back. Maybe I'll figure out who's to blame. I can change it. No, nothing's going to fix it. Nothing's going to change it. And that stinks. But it is what it is. You can't make a dead horse run. No matter how much you beat it, hit it, or caress it and give it a carrot, it's not going to run. It's dead. And you've got to go on and accept that. Easier said than done, I know. But I make some videos on that. It's very important to look at that. But I also want you to think about emotions and thoughts. I'm a cognitive behavioral therapist. Most modern therapists have a little bit of that in us. We know that we believe that our thoughts lead to our emotions. We don't just feel emotions for no reasons. We feel emotions because we first interpreted something a certain way. We had a thought first. In order to feel depressed, you first have to have some really depressing, sad thoughts, hopeless thoughts. In order to feel anxious, you have to have an oh no thought. To be angry or frustrated, you have to have that's not fair kind of thought pop into your head. And so that's difficult to do because we all are going to be having thoughts that we're not fully aware of. We have assumptions about life that we were taught by our parents and by life, by hardships in life, that we're not even sure, though we didn't even realize it. That's part of therapy again, is to look into those thoughts to figure out why does that bother me so much? And you have to figure out and analyze the thoughts. We all have tons of thoughts in our head, and they're not always rational. But even when sometimes they are rational, you're just depressed because your kid died. Nothing irrational about that. But you still have to, okay, then what can I do about it? Is another new thought that you have to look at. So a big part of our getting better is figuring out what is your thinking. But here's the good news is you can change your thinking. We can choose to look at the roses or choose to look at the thorns. It's your choice. It's maybe hard and difficult, but you can do it, and that's the good news. I've had so many of my patients or residents who are just terrible storms of life, and yet they're smiling and laughing. It's like, how do they do it? How do they figure that out? I don't know if I could be smiling if I were in the situation, even with everything I know. And how do you do it? And say, well, I could get depressed, but it wouldn't do any good. They say it so matter-of-factly, so simply, like, duh, who wouldn't do that? And it makes it sound so simple and common sense. And on one hand it is, but yet, darn it, us stubborn little creatures, humans, are very irrational and very difficult to manage in that kind of way. But the thing is your thoughts can be changed. And that's the whole point of these videos, of self-help books, of psychotherapy, is to get your mind to change. One last major thing I want you to think about with your attitude about depression, and that's God. You have a personal, real God who loves you. You don't just have some big fancy movie star or mayor or governor or even president of the United States who loves you and wants to personally help you out. You have the God of the universe who figured out how to make everything. He personally wants to be your friend, your dad. He loves you with an unending love that you can't even begin to imagine. Even with your faults, even with your failings, even though you've let him down, he still is going to give you chance after chance because he loves you. He sent his son to die for you. You're worth that much to him. You know, so many times of depression, we feel worthless. But that's a pretty high thing of worth, is that Jesus loves you and dies for you and is still there with you today, holding your hands, guiding you through this. He didn't promise to make this world perfect or wonderful. That's not the point of this world. The point of this world is to learn that God loves us and to learn our place at his feet. That's what the world's for. And when you learn that, you start to get happier. You start to get more appreciative when you look at what we deserve due to our rebellion against God versus what he's given us, even in this life, even in the bad storms and situations. There's still good in our world to be thankful for. And then there's heaven. He's promised to take us to a wonderful, amazing place with loved ones and perfect health and no anxieties or worries and things to do. It's not going to be dull, boring, floating on clouds. It's going to be amazing and wonderful. I get so excited to think about heaven, and I've made videos and blogs on that too. I just love the topic of using heaven to help us, to get us through depression. But again, it's your perception of your life. It's your perception of your problems. It makes a huge difference in how you choose to deal with it. So please don't feel sorry for yourself. Not ongoing, not forever. Give yourself permission to be sad, but fight it. All right? Here's hoping you find peace in your storms. Please subscribe, like, share, do all that stuff for me. I'd really appreciate it. God bless you. Good night. Bye-bye.